Okay, good evening. I'm Tim Scoggins, Chairman of the Shaftsbury Select Board, and I'm calling this meeting to order at 6:30 on Monday, December 16th, 2019. First, I need to check with the board. Does anyone have a conflict of interest with anything appearing on the agenda this evening?
None.
No. Next up is minutes. We did not get minutes circulated this week from our last meeting, so we will forego that. The minutes are on the web. Warrants. Just have there's some of the payroll. Payroll warrant number 11 in the amount of $21,339.25.
So moved.
Motion to approve from Tony, seconded by
Art.
Joe.
Oh, you got Joe up there. Good enough.
I got it from everybody.
Good. Go ahead, Joe.
Any discussion on payroll warrant? All in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining? Payroll warrant number 11 in the amount of $21,339.25 is approved, 400. Really, Joan should get a new folder.
She wouldn't let me do it.
It's a good luck folder.
It is. She's had that folder for 10 years.
Yes, I can tell.
Still got a few years left.
And check warrant number 15 in the amount of $135,725.22.
So moved.
Moved by Tony,
Second.
second by Joe. Items over $1,000 include $2,000 to American Rock Salt, $5,700 to American Rock Salt, $7,000 to Bennington Regional Commission, $4,000 to Delory Sales and Service, $2,800 to Delory Sales and Service, $9,000 to Eddie Shield Construction. That would be the windows.
The windows, the new frames downstairs. Yep.
Is that complete?
Yes.
Yeah, and they painted the office down there, the treasurer's clerk's office.
Yeah.
It looks nice.
We're extending the counter around too. Right now where the counter ends, we're going to bring it around the other wall so there's more room for people to work.
Good. $6,100 to FR Lafayette, Inc.
That's the guardrail on North Road.
Okay. Well, too bad Ken's not here to hear that. He was really worried
We
about
wanted that guardrail.
Yes.
This was the moment.
$1,500 to GA Bow Fuels, $1,800 to $1,700 to GA Bow Fuels. Did you have something, Joe?
I was just going to ask about the repairs, but it's nothing that has to be answered yet
Okay.
Okay.
for the trucks.
Yeah. Well, I can answer because it's part of this. It's both of those were to one truck. It's a problem truck. It has a problem engine. It's the engine that.
What truck is that?
It's the 2013 2012 tandem, and it's back there now. As a matter of fact, and if it didn't come back today, we have a loaner for the night. It has the engine, the Max Force engine that is part of the lawsuit. So we're trying to work through it, and there's a settlement already in place where we'll get credit later on, but it's a problem.
Okay.
A little Chevy.
Moving on with, major items on check warrant number 15. $2,500 to L&G Fabricators.
There's welding parts onto a sander to keep it working.
$9,100 to New England Municipal Resource. That would be NIMRIC.
Yeah, that's the assessor, paying for the assessor for the first 6 months.
$41,000 to North Bennington Water Department. That would be our water bill for 6/1 to 11/30, it says. $2,800 to Sullivan and Powers, the auditors. $2,800 to TAM, $5,800 to TAM, $6,500 to TAM, that's October, November management fees. $1,500 to Wallingford Crushed Stone, and to William E. Daley, $2,000. Warrant number 15. All in favor of approval, say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstaining? Check warrant number 15, $135,725.22 is approved, 400. Set that down too. Any announcements? As per our town policy, I'm announcing opening town officer positions. This March, we have 2 expiring positions on the select board. And on the planning commission, we have an open position and 1 expiring position. On the developmental review board, we have 1 open position, an open alternate position, no expiring positions. Chris? Any public comments?
Well,
Mr. Levin?
yes, I was here before this water board, and I have a letter here. I don't know if you want it, want a copy. I addressed it to the water board and to the select board. I don't know if you want me to read it or just hand it, give you a copy, and you guys can look at it at your leisure, or...
This is a water board issue?
Well, water board, yeah, it is, but there's no water board meeting posted on the calendar.
Why don't you give us a copy, and if you would, give us the gist of it?
Okay, well, the gist of it is, I'm here to address the ongoing problem with my inflated water bill. It's been over 2 years. I was always told by Mr. McGinnis that when the water meter fails, it stops and you get free water. I always thought that was not right. I just didn't believe it. So I did some research on my own, and I found out that the meter can fail in 3 or 4 ways. But one of the ways a meter can fail is the air valve can fail, and that sends air toward the water meter, raising the water meter reading. The air will replace the water in the pipeline. When the water refills the pipeline, the air will be forced through the meter, causing the impeller and gears to rotate very fast. And I believe this was proven to me back in July when they did like I think it was a 10-day test, and they checked my water and they said I used 3,000 gallons during that time. The problem being I was gone for 7 of those 10 days. We were gone to Virginia. And basically, I just want this, to go away, I feel I'm owed back excess fees and penalties, and fee due to the stress and threats that come with possibly losing your water. So basically that's it, in a nutshell.
So you're saying in July that you had a reading that was taken over a 10-day period?
Mm-hmm.
You used 3,000 gallons, so 300 gallons a day.
Yeah.
What's the normal?
We were gone 7 days out of the 10.
Well,
Really
you're
can't discuss
gone
this
7 out
because
of
this
the
isn't the
10,
water
so-
board.
Okay, well, let us,
It's ridiculous, Joe. I mean, my last bill was, well, it's in there, almost $1,300. I mean, yeah. And I've been complaining about it for better 2 years. And then they keep piling fees on top of it. And
let us look over your letter, look at the information you brought indicating how a water meter can fail and read high, and we'll discuss it with the water superintendent and get back to you.
Okay, so, I was really mad last time I was here when you said, what do you want, free water? How will your neighbors feel? I don't want free water, I want a fair bill. And it's funny, Mr. McGinnis used the same exact literature on my front lawn, yard.
Did he say how, or did you learn how air can get into your line?
I just pulled that up on the computer.
Okay.
Just, I mean, look at how my bill's gone. I mean, I started out
Oh yeah, it's not one I want.
back in, went from like $400, probably on an average, $231, $242, then it went up to $780, $540, $322, $510, $675, $345, $792, then it went down to $408, $704, $632, $616, $840, $808, and then $1296. Well, I'm sure those last three, the meter was well on its way to failing. And of course the penalties,
Okay.
but,
All right, well, we'll take that under advisement. Thank you.
okay. When is the next water meeting?
It's quarterly, we haven't scheduled it, but it will be pretty soon because we have some water issues we have to discuss.
Okay.
So
So,
probably in a month, actually, because we do have some things
In
to discuss.
January.
Yeah.
Okay, not hard to deal with, I just,
Have you talked to Brian Beebe at all?
no.
No. He was talking about his water being on the high side. I don't know.
okay.
Just,
Charlie?
do you know what size your water line coming in is?
No, I don't.
All right, we're going to
I
move
would
on.
guess it's
We're not going
3/4 or
to,
an inch.
yeah, we're going to move on with the rest of the agenda.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pete.
I did want to mention a slight change in the agenda. We are, in fact, going to go into executive session to discuss an upcoming contract that we're getting ready to implement. So, did you have anything else, Charlie? No? Okay. Well, welcome. Always glad to have you. Treasurer's report. Millie Dexter, welcome.
Charlie's in the guest spot, so we'll have to appoint him to a committee.
Hello.
Hi.
Last time I was here, we couldn't really discuss November because I hadn't closed the month yet because there was an outstanding payroll I needed to get in the system. So if we could take a look at the November cash flow. That's the one. I just wanted to be sure to touch on this because November is my biggest month. So you can see there the taxes received. I was busy. And then all those checks, as you can see, the checks written, those include the payments to all of the school payments. So if you go down to the bottom line, we're at, oops, no, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. That does not, the checks were written in December. So you'll see that when we look at the December one, our cash position is more normal. But
It's not 5 million.
it's not normal at all here. It's the opposite of normal. But if you want to look down at the very bottom, you can see how we're doing versus last year with revenues and expenses. It's you can see revenues essentially identical versus budget. We're spending a tiny bit more, a little bit faster, but that can be like one gravel bill or something that came in a little bit early. We're right where we want to be. That's completely normal. The stuff above that is what I've already talked about, the percentage of total taxes that we raised, and that's on the low side. We did talk about that last time, but you can also see the number of payments that we got through the credit card plus the number of dollars. That's really good. I'm really happy to see that people are taking advantage of that. And I think most people, I haven't broken this out, but most people are using the e-check option, which is a flat $1.50. It's a much better deal than putting on your credit card. But, some people like to get those points or whatever, but it's good to see that 65 people did use the credit card option or the online option, and a lot of them would have been late if they hadn't done that. So I really like seeing that trend.
Good.
Okay, want to take a quick look at the December cash flow. obviously not complete yet, but, okay, there you see the checks written, that's what I was talking about before. So you look down, yeah, the big month. We look down at the cash, we're at just about $1 million, and that's real money, and that's gonna get us through the rest of the year.
Okay.
So all of the education spending is already taken care of. Also, that includes all of the refunds for the overpayments of property taxes that we got out earlier than usual this year. So that's already happened. So that's a real number.
Okay.
Okay, if you want to take a quick look at, I don't think we need to look at the November reserve fund. We could just look at the December one. Yeah, that one. You can see the only thing that's going on is water, and that's a very significant portion of the water bill. That's well over half came in just in the last 2 weeks. Those were due the 11th, so they are now delinquent. Okay, any questions about any of that stuff?
I'm all set.
No, nothing.
The only other thing that we have on our plate is we're working on our responses to the external auditors. They raised a couple of the issues they always raise, but we're just doing our response to that, and I think we're planning to get that to them tomorrow. So all of that's right on schedule, right where we want it to be.
Okay. Good.
Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Melanie.
Charlie, don't want to be rude, but I set that up, we have a lot of department heads coming so that we could have them on camera, so he could,
Oh, okay.
they'll sit next to you. They'll sit next to you, you can spar with your,
Yeah. And that's where we are right now with our budget session. We are going to be talking to members of various departments who are going to tell us that they need a whole lot more money than they needed last year. And we're going to say no. It's just how it goes.
Yeah.
you have no money.
First up, Dina Rudy with our Recreation Committee.
I thought we were going to be sitting there cuddling.
We want full.
I am. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
I'm representing the Recreation Committee
Very good.
to give you some information about what we've been doing this year and where the money's been coming from. We have been quite fortunate that we were using not only a bequest that the Recreation Committee was left for Howard Park, but we also had that matching grant from the state. And this is why when you go down to the park, you will notice the beautiful little playground that's up. We have gotten new refuse containers and recycling bins. There is a lovely water fountain that's in there. And what else did we do, Dave?
The playground,
Playground.
pickleball was last year.
Pickleball was last year, yeah.
But we'll have the new sign in the
Yes.
spring.
Yep.
New sign for Cleveland also. Going to start looking at starting in the ice skating rink for Cleveland. It was kind of a long list. We do have, we're going to rebuild the swale and the drainage system inside the park. It's actually was cited in the municipal road general permit as a critical area, so we'll be probably getting money again from the state to do that. But that needs a giant rebuild. Yeah, right where it comes out, where the spring is, along the wood line, and where our well continually pumps water also. We already have the design. It was designed for us to build in a drainage area and just have that water flow better across and spill out. So
Good.
that'll be a big project for the spring too, summer.
Yeah.
But we're getting some state aid on that.
Yeah, we'll get some state aid on that. It's already been designed for us, so we'll do pretty well with that one too, yeah.
Basically, what we need a budget for is for infrastructure, water, the water pipes. If anything goes wrong with that, it's our fundage that it would be coming out of. And to take care of closing down the water system and then restarting it again in the spring, that falls on us. but everything else looks good.
Okay.
We're in good shape
Yeah.
for the shape we're in.
Yeah.
We really are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Dave, I trust we trust that you have budget to turn the water on
Yeah, we're
this
little.
spring.
A little, just a little.
Yeah, no, we programmed in, because we do have to hire people, because the water system has to be completely shut down. It has a purification system on it. Antifreeze has to be put in it for the winter, and then it has to be taken, it's a whole project to get it going. So we just hire plumbers to do it in the spring and summer. Additional costs is we have the year-round porta potty out there now. It's a handicap thing. It's over by the tennis courts, so everybody doesn't have to walk all the way over to the buildings, which aren't open a lot because we can't leave them open. So there's always something there for people. So it's an additional cost, but it's well worthwhile. And then we were talking about it, working on the pavilion too,
Yeah.
changing that.
Update the pavilion, maybe enlarge it quite a little bit, because that pavilion this year has been getting quite a bit of use. So it would be lovely if we could enlarge it and just make it for larger groups, larger party groups. The other thing that we're going to need funding for is the girls' room door, the bathrooms. That whole thing has to be replaced. You can't get into the bathroom. Period.
Yeah, that'll be replaced in April.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's, I don't know, it's got all warped out of shape, and
You can't.
all of a sudden, nobody can get the door open. You have to pound on it to get it open. So before we open up for the spring, we'll just have the whole door replaced, the whole frame,
The
everything.
frame,
It's-
everything has to be replaced.
It's done. I don't know when that was built, but, these things happen. So it's not a big deal. Be your whole budget, but it's not a big deal.
No, it's not, that's it, that's what we need a budget for. Other than that, the parks are really in good shape.
Yes, made quite some improvements over the last few years.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They look really
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. You don't realize the work that goes in behind the scenes, setting things up. You think, okay, I'm just going to take care of this, boom, boom, boom. No, no, no. Something that you or I would be able to take care of on our own property in a week takes several years. And it
Yes,
does,
it
and
does.
that's just the way it is. And you learn to deal with it and not get yourself upset. And you just keep moving forward,
Yeah.
step by step. And before you know it, it's done.
Good.
So this is good. But that's all we have to report from the rec committee.
Okay. Speaking of several years, are we budgeted to do what we need to do to get the ice rink in this summer so that it can
Yeah,
get
because what
used
we have
next
is a
winter?
large park reserve and that bequest. Well, the bequest can only be used for Howard Park, but that leaves the reserve to do things like the,
Cleveland.
Cleveland, the ice rink. And we're gonna look to get some estimates on leveling that off after baseball's over, because the little kids still play baseball there. Because the problem with the ice rink before is you just can't lay it out on the ground. You have to level the place out. It has to have drainage, and, you do something right, we'll do it right, and it'll be compacted and everything, and then we can put it out and bring it back in. But that might require hiring someone to do that. We'll go through that in the spring. But we do have, for moving things around and getting the grants from the state, and we have been able to do a lot of work in the parks.
When did they stop playing baseball there?
Stop?
Yeah,
Oh, no, they still do.
yeah, I thought they.
No, after they're done is when we'll start
Oh, okay,
looking
now I
into it,
got you.
yeah,
I thought you
yeah.
meant they stopped.
Yeah, because we're gonna have to go from the back all the way up to the infield, or whatever they call the infield there. Because it slopes off and it rises, it's just all uneven back there.
Little
but it-
swamp back there.
Yeah, well, we won't go that far.
Now, are we still talking about the ice rink
Yeah.
at Howard Park?
No, at Cleveland.
Oh,
Because I thought the
The
board
little
wanted it at
baseball field
Cleveland.
there, yeah.
Yeah, there's a little baseball field there for real little kids,
Right,
but
right.
it is used all the time,
Yeah,
so.
okay. And I guess it's become apparent, but I know that there was a town plan suggestion from the Recreation Committee that we not restrict ourselves to considering putting the ice rink at Cleveland, that we consider it at Howard Park. And the board did consider that, and we really think the ice rink belongs at Cleveland, in the
Yeah.
village where people can walk to it.
Yeah.
And
Well, for safety reasons too. I wouldn't want my daughter going to Howard Park by
Yeah.
herself to go skating. Or,
Yeah.
We can't.
yeah.
Unless she drives.
Well, she could walk.
Yeah.
Who lives in
quite a ways
Cleveland?
there. Yeah, but it's a long way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm talking about the Howard Park.
We came to that same conclusion.
Yeah,
We walk out all the
Cleveland
time.
is the place to be.
yeah,
Okay.
good.
Sorry.
All right. Anything else on the future of the Recreation Committee?
Just finishing up the projects that we had targeted with the bequest and with the matching grant. So the sign leading into Howard, that's going to be a lovely sign. Very large, very visible, and it'll look beautiful and welcoming. So that and
For
then-
Howard Park?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The one that's there right now
It's pretty,
is
pretty bad.
quite the sight.
How much traffic drives by that to see it?
On,
Well, as someone who was trying to find the park for it to
Oh,
bring
no,
my kid to
no,
a
no,
baseball
right.
game, I drove right by it. You don't even
Can't
see
find the
it.
sign. It's kind of now in the bushes. The
Yeah.
bushes are
Overgrown.
developing it. It's time for a change.
it's one of those signs that looks like it ought to have enter at your own risk underneath
Yes,
it.
Yeah.
yes, it does.
We got a new little sign for at Cleveland Park also.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You know, so.
update that.
Mhm.
It'll look very nice. It'll be very welcoming.
Very good.
Excellent.
Thank you,
Thank you
Dina.
very much,
Thank you
gentlemen.
for your
Thank you.
help.
Next up, we have the chairman of our Planning Commission, Mr. Chris Williams. Who is still enjoying his vacation after a year of hard work of
That was the
Building the
hardest
town plan.
$100 I ever earned.
Yeah, once again, I want to say I'm really proud of the job you guys did with the town plan. It's a useful working document, and you guys,
It's a new document, it's not a write-over.
that's right, it's not a write-over. These guys rewrote every word in it, and you can actually figure out what it is we're supposed to be doing with it. So, very good job.
Well, thank you.
So what are you going to do for me now?
Well, we've got actually a long list of self-assigned tasks from the town plan that says the planning commission should do this, that, and the other thing. So you have a similar list, and we're trying to get organized and prioritize that list in terms of what we want to work on right away, what should be long-term projects. Expect to see some initiative from us in the near future concerning a trail to the town forest.
Yes.
That this is a simple project, but it will develop slowly. So we feel like it'd be good to see if we could get a consensus on what we're going to do and do the necessary fact-finding and start that slow process.
Good. Anything in your plans that would require significant increases in your budget from last year?
No, I don't think so. I don't see any reason that our expenses are going up. The only thing I would say is you might consider a raise for our zoning administrator, Shelley Stiles, because she is doing a tremendous job. She, you know, this is a situation where judgment is called for because there's liability to the town attached. And the longevity alone of having her in this position for 5 years is worth a huge amount to us. And I can't describe to you how miserable it was when we changed the zoning administrators every 8 months. And we did that for years. So recognize the value of what we have is what I would say.
Okay, good.
We'll take it under consideration, certainly.
Yeah, we'll take that under consideration. Do we have an increase in her salary
Yeah,
in the current
it's
budget?
built into the budget.
Okay. So there is an increase already built in. We'll take a look at what we've done relative to your comments.
Good. Well, thanks for your support.
Okay.
That was a lot of work, but I thought we came out in a good place.
Yeah, we did.
Yep.
Next up is our Fire Chief, Joe Vatican. Welcome, sir. So, we're getting you a new fire truck. What else do you want?
What I can do for you, and I'm trying to get my voice back. I'm not having a good luck.
Okay.
We've kind of sat down with Dave and talked about bringing our budget back to the way it was about 5-6 years ago. We switched expenditures trying to upgrade our facilities, where our equipment fund was much larger than our firehouse maintenance fund. So then 5 years ago, we brought that money from the equipment fund into the facilities, and we're at a point now where the facilities are in pretty good shape, with everything that we've done. And what we'd like to do is bring it back, the money back to the equipment fund, and start using it for equipment that is getting older. About a week ago, I found out that 4 of our radios, pagers, weren't working, so I sent them into Wells Communication to have them fixed. And as they say, time flies. The pagers were 17 years old. So I think we're going to make a concerted effort to upgrade, because just the bench cost, sending them in just to see them, are $170 a piece. And a 17-year-old radio, it's just not worth it. So we're going to focus on some new pagers, start out small, maybe 3 or 4. Do what we can right off the bat, and then if we got more money, later on, we'll spend some more money on that. But just start working towards that like anything else.
How much is a new pager?
A new pager costs about $550, so they're a little pricey. It's not something you can just buy everybody a brand new one. You just can't afford it.
Well, what makes them worth that much?
They
It
work off
has fire in
satellite.
front of it. If the wood
Okay.
fire, it would cost it.
Understood.
They work off a satellite, Joe. Seriously. They aren't just regular radios.
No, they're,
They
yeah.
work off a satellite.
They are satellite radios.
Well, that's where our phones come in. If you remember, once a year we have a subscription to e-dispatch, and our phones are linked to the satellite, like Art said. And so like if we're out Shaftsbury Hollow, where these things won't reach, or if we're in, say, Manchester or Arlington,
Yeah, satellite reaches everywhere. So.
and it goes, in fact, I got toned out in Italy a couple of times. Didn't make the trip back. But,
Gotta go. We know, we missed
I
you.
listened.
But your phone has a better reach than the pager?
Well, like Art said, the phone comes off the satellite, the pages go over the air. So it's like a radio. It's just, from here to our tower, firehouse. And of course, you get out, like out towards where Art lives, out in the hollow, it's asking a lot for this little radio to capture that antenna, especially out in Granger Hollow.
So the pagers aren't on a satellite link?
No, the pagers aren't, but our phones are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Now,
Why do we need the pager?
right, I'm confused.
well, not everybody has a cell phone. Not everybody has a cell phone that can do that type of thing. Some of them are older cell phones.
Well, satellite phones are supposed to be not available to the public, but.
Well, it's satellite, right, but,
But I mean, your cell phone, it has to talk to the cell tower to get that signal, right? It's not,
Yeah, it's coming
not
off the
talking
tower.
directly to
but
the...
it has a much larger range. And we, like I said, we can be 2 towns away and our cell phone come in,
If you have cell phone coverage.
if you have cell phone.
Oh, but if you don't have, that's why we need the pagers,
Well,
because
then
we
this
don't have
is,
cell
because
phone
we've run
coverage.
into this in my own household where the phone will go off, but the pager didn't go off, and sometimes the pager will go off and the
Okay.
phone, because we're in the wrong room. So it's
Yeah, I
more
gotcha.
redundancy into the call system.
I work, at Page College, and in my office at the college, this won't come in. I have to rely on my cell phone.
Right, right. But if you're at the chocolate barn, you're gonna need the pager, because there's no cell phone
And
coverage.
it'll come over both of them, like in the chocolate barn, or wherever the cell service and this comes in.
Right, right, okay.
It's just redundant, in some
Yeah.
cases, but, so then we're looking at, replacing 2 or 3 sets of gear that have been worn out by guys. Again, we're trying to get ahead of it, and not have to replace 10 sets because we've kind of missed the boat. And of course, the gears, again, says fire, and it's quite expensive, so.
Sure.
We'll have to put a new mobile radio in the new truck when it comes. And they'll have to be done by Wells Communications, so we'll look at that expense. And then we're starting on some hose replacement, getting rid of some of the hose that's worn out over the years. We haven't had a real purchase in a long time. So we're looking at doing that this year too, in the next fiscal budget. And then just everyday expenses that we have.
You kind of indicated that you're swapping money around, but is the total amount of money you're talking about the same?
Yeah, we've tried to level fund
Yeah,
every
sure.
year since I've been
Yeah.
chief. I think we've come close to it.
Yeah, we are, and what we did was 6,000 from the firehouse maintenance account to the equipment replacement account, so there'll be 20,000 in equipment replacement for next year to take care of this stuff. But otherwise, it's remained flat.
So that's really the main, expenses that we have this year.
Very good.
And so in the budget that you have, that we have budgeted, you can do the start buying radios and start buying turnout gear like you suggested? Okay.
Couple of things, just real quick to update you. The chassis for the new truck has been built. It has gone to their custom shop where they put the air horns on the fenders and the visor, just small things. So that'll be relatively quick too. And then it'll go to towing. So that's just an update with that on the chassis.
Now remind me when we're expecting delivery on that truck?
For a while.
If it gets to 20 by say February, we're looking at maybe next September, October. Something like that.
Okay.
And just as another update, we are taking all the carpet out of the upstairs of the firehouse, and we're going to have our wood floors refinished.
Nice.
We'll get rid of the 60s motif. It's really cool. And I was impressed with what you guys did here, so
Yeah,
we
good.
decided as a group.
You like this look?
And we have the money in this year's budget to
Yeah.
do that.
Okay, good.
Good use of the money.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
So did we get all the windows in all the firehouses that we needed?
Yeah, windows are all done.
Okay.
Roof, boilers,
Everything.
everything. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah,
Okay.
really well.
Okay, great.
We'll have to raise the budget.
Yeah,
Okay.
A little bit of a pride for us because
Yeah,
Absolutely.
the boards were
Yeah.
bad
It's
too.
great.
yeah, good job.
We get a fire truck without having to borrow money too.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It is.
Yeah.
It's just forward thinking of everybody
yeah,
here and
Good planning, Joe.
yeah,
Yeah, very good.
that's all I have.
so, yeah.
Excellent.
Thank you, Joe.
We have a present for you as a door prize, and you're back and you've been waiting for it finally.
I've been chasing that all over.
All right, thanks, Joe.
Thank you, Joe.
Oh, is that the roster for insurance? Thank you.
Okay, DPW, I don't see our
No,
DPW form in here.
but we can go through it if you'd like. If we can start with the, if you have the diagram I sent you this afternoon, we can start that way.
You sent me a PDF of it. Did you change the name
That
of
one
it?
right there, you just move up to DPW chart.
Yeah, that's my
Oh, that's your Excel one, yeah.
Excel that didn't show, and
It's the bottom one.
there it is.
There we go.
I didn't alphabetize it.
Oh, okay.
So if this would just kind of give a general breakout of the total here, because we're talking about $900,000 and where it's all going. So the biggest percentage there clearly is wages, benefits, and administration. Construction and maintenance, the 34%. Equipment maintenance takes up to 12%. And the other two are Parks and Rec is kind of combined into DPW now because DPW has equipment, the manpower and all that. So that added into streets and lights is about 1% of the entire budget for the DPW, and the garage is 1%, or is that 2%?
2.
It's a little fuzzy from this end of the table. The equipment is 12%. But going through the line items in the budget, the only real significant changes come up in adding things into highway construction and maintenance, where we have like $2,500 added into tree work. We have put in 2,000 more into operating supplies, just to keep the trucks going, more equipment, more tools for them to work with and things like that. Dust control, we up 10,000 for next year, because we're really putting a lot down, which is good, it's a good thing. So I think we need about 10,000 more for next year to continue at this pace, because we're kind of deep into it right now. It was 69% of it's been used already. So, we're looking at May and June. So for the next year, we figure 10,000 more should do it.
That's the equipment maintenance?
No, this is dust control for the roads,
That
yeah,
would be in construction.
in construction and maintenance. And so we go on from there, and then rentals were up 11,000, just to make up, because we remember we're dropping our outside mower, and we're talking to a couple of different companies about renting equipment, and also trying to weigh out the cost benefit of trying to purchase something or renting. You kind of go back and forth on this, and the problem with owning it is you own it. It's insurance, it breaks, you have all kinds of problems, and we use it for, 8 weeks of the year.
What are you looking for, a bush hog?
No, a mower with arms,
Yeah.
and one thing to reduce the expense of renting, because it actually would be cheaper to keep the thing moving 6 days a week and just pay overtime for someone to run it on Saturdays and run it 10 or 12 hours a day and just really mow and reduce the rental time. And it's going to be less, pay a little overtime, but it would still come out less in the long run. And I'm sure it'd be less than owning one of these things. And I personally hate to see equipment like parked for 11 months of the year. It just doesn't make any sense,
You're not making money when it's parked.
Well, that's right, I gotta look at it that way, So we upped that. Highway equipment and maintenance, everything in that line, which had been the same for years, each vehicle was at random almost assigned 1,000 or 2,000. These haven't been changed since about 3 or 4 years since before I got here. It doesn't reflect the reality of what it costs to maintain this equipment. Right now, for this year, we're already like 20,000 over the budget, because it was budgeted 28,000 for 19 vehicles. And,
Already spent like 8,000 this month.
yeah, on one,
Yeah.
yeah. And granted, that's a whole different issue, that thing. But we've had a few things, but we hit a peak when Mike got here, was we rotated into kind of a more aggressive maintenance and getting these things up to date. But I expect the cost to maintain this equipment to go down as it's done on a more regular basis and it's sent out to be done.
Preventive maintenance?
Yeah, between Morse and Delory and things, getting to them at the early stages before we have a problem, we helped out. One of the problems we're having, don't ask me to explain this, but there should be a different hydraulic pump on one of the trucks because it runs off the transmission, or it doesn't run off the transmission, one or the other. Mike could explain that, but I'll take his word for it. But we're looking at changing that.
Was it PTO you're talking about?
Well, yeah, it's part of the PTO, but there's ways of running it. This one runs off the transmission.
So you need to put it on the crank, put it
Yeah.
on the front.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So we're looking into doing that. But the maintenance, it has probably peaked last year, and it's already down from where it was last year. And I'm hoping next year it'll go down less, but our baseline here just isn't realistic. So that's gone up quite a bit this year, or in fiscal '20, because the total line will go from 93 to 108,000 to get another 17,000 in for repairs here. Because it's not a realistic number we have on here to start with. You know, the total 108 isn't for repairs, because that includes all machinery and equipment for the garage, gas, diesel, and oil, and communications. So majority of that figure is for gas and oil. So 58,000 for gas and oil. So, and we come pretty close to that every year, depending. You know, you have a bad year, it's right up there.
So do you have the breakout for what the maintenance is going up? It's currently 28,000 for 19 vehicles. You're raising it.
Yeah, it'll go up to 38,950.
38,000, okay.
For 19 vehicles. And we'll see where that goes. I mean, it'll probably run over a little bit. It all depends. I mean, we do not have an old fleet. And I'll get to that in a minute because we're going to replace one of the trucks. But, and it's funny because it's actually one of the newer trucks that is being most problematic, which is unfortunate. We've had a lot of makeup maintenance too. So I'm hoping we've crested that and we're going to get better at it.
So the 38,000 is going to be budgeted for 19 vehicles?
19 vehicles. So you figure that out. That's not
Yeah.
still.
No, I'm not
Yeah.
saying that, I didn't know we had 19 vehicles.
Yeah.
So I'm
Well, yeah, because you have 2 graders, you have the track excavator for now. You have, 6 dump trucks, pickup truck, you have a mower, it goes on and on, backhoe. So you do have a lot of different vehicles out there, and tractors and construction equipment. So that includes everything down to the John Deere little tractor we use. And the zero-turn mower, that's in here too, so there's a lot of things in here. The next one would be the highway garage, which the only real change there is 1,500 into professional services because we have to have Culligan there, and because it's a state well testing site, we have to have Culligan, we have to have the filtration system on it.
Softeners.
So yeah, so it's $1,500 for that. Then the big changes, which aren't completely reflected in this diagram, were in the reserve funds. Because for the highways, we're adding, this is all pre-planned, $10,000 more to equipment, just like the fire department's getting $5,000 more for equipment. The paving reserve we talked about before is going up $10,000 to $45,000. Because in the off years when we don't get a state grant, because the state grant we match with $35,000, but in the years we don't get it, we might be able to take $90,000 or more and go fix one of our non-state funded roads, which we have more miles of non-state funded than we have state funded. So it will be nice to start building up a balance we can do something with. Culvert reserve, doubling that from $5,000 to $10,000. We are working on a culvert survey now, and we're hoping to get a grant for that very soon. And we have lots of culverts that need to be replaced.
Can we just get a culvert survey?
That was the stormwater survey and erosion survey. And this will be a culvert inventory and survey. Yeah, I know. You would have thought they could have looked at the culverts at the same time.
I was going to say, why
Yeah.
did they do it all at once?
Different agency.
Yeah, I mean, the survey we got evaluated the culverts, though. They're ranked by.
Parts of it, yes,
How
but
good they
then
are.
we have a lot of other culverts that aren't on there, that are just simple road culverts, because what they were looking for was road erosion areas, and then looking at the culverts that should be replaced. One of the bigger projects we're gonna have isn't even on their list, which is a culvert that goes underneath Shaftsbury, at the corner of Shaftsbury and Granger Hollow. There's a culvert that goes right underneath that road, and it's actually, the road is tumbling in. It's eroding right out. So the state is working on a design for us, and we're gonna have to dig that whole thing out and replace that under there. That's not even on the MRGP priority
Oh.
list.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, because like,
The one that was done was just looking at stormwater erosion.
yeah, it was, so we have to have that so we can comply with the municipal road general permit. And then when you comply with that, then I can get funding for some of the projects that are due. And grants and aid, when you have this, one grant we just applied for to replace we had to upsize the size of the culvert. It's gonna be $47,000 just to do that, just to replace this one. Yeah, it's just the way things are. Class 3 road fund is gonna go up another $6,000. Class 3 covers everything, including using us to put in culverts. We use a lot of that when we hire different contractors to finish jobs for us. And we'll be looking for grants. We just applied for a grant on Friday for $47,000 to replace a culvert way up at the end of Shaftsbury Hollow, but it's in desperate shape. It really needs to be replaced, and of course, it's undersized now. We had A&R up there, and we have to put in a bigger dimension culvert under the road, so. But we have their endorsement for the project, so I'm hoping we'll get it pretty quickly. And
that's being spent in Shaftsbury Hall, you said?
yeah, way up at the end, almost at the, well, it is pretty much the end of the road.
It's where old man Jenkins lives.
I don't know him, but, oh, old man, oh, God, sorry, I'm a little slow on the uptake on that. But, yeah.
So the overall increase in,
Yeah, what's the overall increase?
Well, the overall increase in non-administrative increase in highway operations and reserve funds is $74,963.
75,000.
Yeah, 75,000 roughly, which, with an adjustment I'm gonna have to make on the budget, is really 84% of the overall budget increase for the town for the year, is all going into the highways.
Right.
And with the 40,000 we bumped from last year from the floor, you're talking about roughly $115,000 increase in non-administrative highway expenses. So that's a large increase over a 2-year period. And we'll be able to work on getting this in, and having the flex with some more money to match grants is really the key. We had a lot of grants last year, and I'm hoping to have more. And the good thing with having that survey done, which we got a grant for, to do the stormwater survey, is we can turn these around real quick because we have partial designs, we have, they're on the priority list, and there's any money that comes up, we can just send it right back in. And we were getting lots of designs from the state, which also is great because we can jump on things real quick with a design. Not we're thinking about doing it, but here's a design, here's from the permit, from the municipal road general permit plan, so it helps out a great deal. So in the beginning of the season, we're already up for 47 to work on in 2021. I can't remember, yeah, fiscal 21 we're talking about. So we're already looking at 47,000 right now, and another 10 for that culvert survey, and then we'll take it from there. We'll probably get a paving grant this year. And I'll just continue right into the road report too, because we are going for the extension for the culvert bridge at Hollow Hideaway. As you might remember, we went there with A&R, and we have to resize the, we applied for this, we got it approved like 4 years ago. We finally got the grant. Well, the standards have changed. Now they want us to do something different. So, which may be cheaper. So it's not possibly the end of the world. But I'm asking the state for an extension because I don't, I have to get it re-engineered. I don't want it to be, I don't want to be trying to rush this thing in a year. As long as I want is a year to the end of 21 instead of the end of 20, just to have a little buffer here. Okay. We went up with our engineer who did it with us originally, Chris Panesi, and we're going to do some stabilizing things just so that, it's not going anywhere, but the new thing it's going to require some different ways of approaching it, and we'll see how it develops. But this is what happens when you get a plan. It takes 4 years to get the money, the state change the rules, and then suddenly I need a bigger opening for the fishies to get through, so, which is about what it is, but,
Okay.
yeah. What else we got? We're going to put out a RFP to purchase a new single axle dump truck that'll replace a 2009. That we need to replace, it's just part of the schedule. It'll be paid for with about $140,000 in cash and a couple of trade-ins. And the proceeds from these two things out here. We'll probably be looking to move the track excavator this year too, because it sits, and then you have to work on it to get it started, and then it sits. And we have lots of luck at very reasonable rates renting bulldozers and everything else from local contractors who deliver it to our site. We use it. We either get charged by the day or the hour, and again, no maintenance, no nothing. People will want that thing, because it is
Like the cab.
yeah, and it is a beast too.
So
But,
what truck are you replacing?
it'll be a single axle 7400 International. It's 2009, and we're going to replace it with a single axle.
Comparable vehicle.
It's the same vehicle. You know, it's already being spec'd out. I should probably have them tomorrow. And we'll put it out for bid. We have to put it out for bid in January, choose a bidder by the end of the month, award at the beginning of February, and then if we're lucky, we'll have it by November. Because, you know, Norm did the same thing last year, and he's still waiting, which means we're still waiting for the used truck we bought from him. So it's the same with the fire truck. The lead time on these things is getting worse. So hopefully we'll get it out. If we don't get it by next winter, it won't be the end of the world, as long as it's on the pipeline. You know, hopefully, because it'll be pretty standard. We're not getting anything fancy. But it'll be an all cash and trade-in deal. So we'll be putting that out. Let's see. Yep, I think I already talked about everything there.
Okay. All right, is that takes care of all the budget stuff?
Yeah, I think we can.
All right, we can move on. Award water pipeline engineering bid.
We had the 3 bids, as you remember, from Du Bois King, Otter Creek, and Dufresne.
We interviewed the 3 of them. We liked all 3 of them, so we brought them in. We still liked them all. They made good presentations. In the end, Art and Dave and I decided we would recommend going with Dufresne. And again, it was a close call, but Dufresne is closer by than the others. They have office in Manchester, and there is a convenience factor to be considered about that, especially if we're looking down the road toward the whole process of actually getting into the water main replacement and such. So that's our recommendation. Like I say, they would all be good at doing the work, but that's kind of where we came down. Any other comments there?
What convinced me was that Dufresne out of Manchester already works with the state road commissioner here, knows him very well, and this is a big job going to be coming right down the center of Route 7A. It's got to be coordinated, and she does that all the time.
Yeah.
Knows him personally and everything.
Yeah. Also, Dufresne is the only one who has done in Vermont one particular technique of pipe bursting, which is likely going to be what is going to be needed when we go under 7A up here. And so there's a comfort factor in that they've been able to permit and accomplish that successfully too.
What do they do? A destruction test or?
No, they essentially run the new pipe in, and then an expansion breaks the concrete asbestos pipe in place, and with that expansion, then they run the new pipe into that.
Put a sleeve in it.
Yeah. And,
Well, it's actually a new pipe, it's not a sleeve. You're not sleeving it, you're bursting the existing pipe with
Destroying it.
a plug head and
Blowing it out.
and it falls in
Expanding
behind it, yeah.
Making room for the new pipe.
Yeah,
As long as it stays there.
yeah, actually, I'm remembering,
keep it covered, right?
As long as it stays there, it's not
Yeah.
hazardous waste.
Right.
yeah.
yeah, I'm remembering more now that I think about it. It's like they've got a, I'll call it a cone that kind of gets pulled through and bursts the existing pipe, and as it's going through, it's pulling in the new pipe.
Yeah,
Pretty slick.
Yeah.
yeah, and they have done a project under the state highway through Bellows Falls doing this process already. They're the only ones in the state who have done it.
Yeah.
So,
So, remind me the cost of the...
16,000 was the bid from Dufresne.
And does that include, I think we wanted to go with the add-on for,
Well, the funding add-on at the end, because none of them, I like this part, because all of them will take us up to the point where, okay, here you are, here's papers to submit, but there's a lot of paperwork and negotiation going on to get, a $800,000 loan from the state to do this, and we need their expertise. I like to find the fact that they put this in here as an add-on right up front for $1,300. So that's very helpful, because we are going to need the experience. There basically isn't going to be anybody here. Jim will be gone. I'll be doing most of the coordinating for this, and we're going to need experienced people. And even if Jim was here, you wouldn't have him doing all this stuff with the water people. It's just kind of a specialty role, so you need the engineers to talk to the other engineers to get this done.
yeah, so what's the total with the add-on?
That would be $17,300.
Okay. So is there a motion to award the water pipeline engineering study to Dufresne at a cost of $17,300?
So moved.
Moved by Art,
Second.
second by Tony. Any more discussion on that?
No.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstaining? So, that motion is agreed to by a vote of 4-0-0.
Yeah, I'll inform everybody tomorrow.
Good.
We'll move on. The next one is,
Hazard, award hazard mitigation study bid.
yes, every now and then we have to do these. They're required. Actually, if you have a disaster, if you have a hazard mitigation plan, you get more money from FEMA. That's kind of the short and bottom line of this. So, we have one bid, and it's just like the water bids, this was all posted on the state website for bids. We received one bid from BCRC, which is also normal because the regional commissions basically do these hazard mitigation plans in all the counties.
Right.
So their bid was $10,100, which I already have a grant secured for $7,612.50. So our share will be basically $2,500. So Michael's done these before. I've done these with Michael here and in another town. So it'll get done. It'll be done right.
So moved.
Motion from Art to accept the bid from BCRC for update to the hazard mitigation plan at a cost of $10,100.
Second.
Second by Tony. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstaining? So that motion is agreed to, 4-0-0.
Okay.
All right, an update on the Internet Communication Union District on the March ballot. We voted to put that on the March ballot
Right.
for those following along at home. The way it looks like we have hope of solving the internet problem for folks that don't have it or don't have it good enough is forming a communication union district. And this is a group of towns that get together, create a governance structure. It's like a water district. It allows them to piece together all the different parts of the different towns that are not covered, create a useful package of business for an internet service provider, and then try to bid it out and get it taken care of. This is happening now all over the state because of the broadband bill that passed recently, Act 79, which encourages this sort of thing and provides feasibility study grants for towns for CUDs to look at the feasibility of what they proposed in terms of how many towns, based on their particular geography and the particular amount of underserved areas that they have. We are hoping with our Southern Vermont CUD to get one of those feasibility studies. So we're working pretty fast because the ballot is in March, and then the deadline for the feasibility study application is in April. Things that people should know: they're going to see this on the ballot. They should vote yes, because there's no downside to it. The CUD will never cost you any taxes. State law prohibits town taxes from being used to build communication infrastructure. So it has to be financed with the service fees or the people that sign up for the service. If we can get grants from USDA and other places, that will sweeten the deal for an ISP. The one that's the example we're all trying to follow, EC Fiber, East Central Vermont Fiber, they actually got a lot of grants from people who were desperate to get internet service, quite frankly, who donated money to get them over that bridge period from the time you start building fiber until you start collecting money from the people that are buying the fiber. So that's the background. The news is besides Shaftsbury, Sunderland, and Sandgate, Bennington and Rupert have voted to put the issue on the ballot, and we're talking to select boards in Arlington and Dorset and Manchester this week, and Woodford also. So that's the news there.
Good.
Any other business? Reviewing action items. We talked about last time putting the draft budget on the website for people to start looking at it. We didn't get to that because every time I talked to Dave, he had changed it. So once we get a budget that stays the same for a couple of days in a row, we'll put it up and call it a draft.
In fact, the one I sent Sunday is changed today.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we do need to go into executive session to discuss an upcoming contract that we're needing to negotiate.
So moved.
Motion to go into executive session from Art,
Second?
seconded by Joe. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.